Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of FORCA BARCA podcast. This is our first episode that we'll be doing for our subscribers. It's an exclusive episode that'll be on Patreon. And if you're listening on audio on Spotify or podcasts services, you'll be able to access it through bonus content if you're a subscriber. So this one we'll be talking about the dream team of 1992, of the early 90s with Johan Cruyff at the helm as a coach. We'll talk about the cups that we won, all the titles we won, the style of play that we were doing, tiki-taka style, possessive football. Talk about Koeman, about Cruyff, about Guardiola, about Romario, and how dynamic all that team was. Yeah, and we'll just shoot the shit about it and see and get some details in there and some stats and have fun with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So first of all, it's just to break the ice here. How's it been? How's it been? How's last week? How'd you recover from last week's?
Oh, it was. It's not too bad because let's be honest, we are not um, too keen on winning Europa League. Or of course, after a loss, it's easy to say stuff like this, but we don't want Barcelona and the Europa League. Champions League is where they belong, and after few moments, I think we are good to go and look ahead on the coming weeks and finish the league on the second spot, hopefully.
That's exactly, yeah. I think it was a sad moment, but it's over with, and it's time to look at the future. We have a game tomorrow, so we'll be able to recover well, I hope, and keep on pressuring the up top, and hopefully we get second place, or if not, at least be in the top four. Um,
Yep.
so all right, so let's do this. So we think we should start with the lineup just to get how the team was set up with Johan Cruyff, especially in those first seasons with him, when we dominated Europe there too. So let's start with that. You wanna take us over, just to give us an idea what the lineup was?
Yeah, I mean it's a span of like multiple years. So when we talk about the Cruyff era, we talk from 88 to 96. But there are a couple of players that are fairly essential to what the dream team was and how it changed the landscape of European football and what football is exactly. So the way that this dream team impacted football is very profoundly. So we can talk about our goalkeeper, our legend Zubizarreta, Baquero, Laudrup, Koeman, Stoikov, Romario, Eusebio, Guardiola, Juan Carlos, Ferrer, Nando, Julio Salinas, Serna, Alexanco, Goico Chea. All of them are very essential to what the Dream Team era was under Johan Cruyff. Um, I think it's important to single out some players because of the way Johan Cruyff used certain players. We had a lot of special players. Some of our defensive players were fairly um, dangerous up front. If I think about Koeman, which he wasn't that good of a coach, but a
as a
fantastic
player.
football player. Yeah.
Yeah, and one interesting fact about Koeman too. He played 256 games with Barca. He scored 97 goals. So he wasn't just he didn't just have an impact defensively. He was threatening when he goes forward, kind of like Piqué is and Puyol was. So it's something that he wasn't just a monster in the back. He was a threat when he goes forward too.
And we cannot forget his set pieces. He
Yep.
he was fairly good at that. Set pieces were legendary. Of course, when we talk about Cruyff and Recha as a duo, when we talk about this era, it's basically a newborn Barcelona. I mean, we had certain eras, and Johan Cruyff as a player also had an impact on how Barcelona was seen
Hmm.
in the Europe on the European stage. But when it comes to the tactical aspect of it, it was a fairly new breed of football, and it's what today is established as tiki taka. It's where it was born, and the total football idea was born. I think we need chronologically just to go through the different steps into the dominance that was Barcelona with the pinnacle of winning the first European Cup as Barcelona.
Yeah. Let's go through it. Let's see the first few because you said that. So how Johan's Cruyff when he came in as a player he had an impact, but when he brought in as a coach, that's where most Barcelona fans in the world of football really saw how like the vision that he was trying to implement even as a player, and
Mm.
it just exploded from there. That's just like the actual tiki taka football was known as a Dutch thing before that, right? So like he took
Yep.
that and basically made it into an identity for us. And after it changed everything afterwards. Anybody that came in afterwards tried to recreate the same thing that Cruyff did. And that's one of the reasons why what the reason why Barcelona now is known as the Tiki Taka Club, right? Is just that's just our identity now, and it's been that for since he came on.
Exactly, and the landscape of football changed. I mean, a lot of things that we see, especially in Spanish football today, was introduced by Johan Cruyff. I know a lot of people wouldn't like to hear it, but rondos, where players get into a circle and play the ball and have like an opposing or two opposing players in the middle, it was established by Johan Cruyff. And he brought it into Spanish football. Not and the landscape as a whole, the way teams trained to this day is basically Johan Cruyff's vision. We see that today. Of course, in Barcelona, it's our identity, but outside of Barcelona, you can, especially in Spanish teams, you can still see the impact that Johan Cruyff's trainings methods had.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, and just let's just go through. So he came in '88. What?
Yep.
How much of an impact did he have in the first couple seasons?
And the first seasons were like any coach coming in with a new idea. It was a phase of adapting his ideas, adapting his style of play, and the new vision that he had for the team. It wasn't that easy, especially from 1988 until 1990. But as soon as we had that championship in 1990, we were on the road. So the team adapted to his style of play, to his vision, and you could see what was basically happening, the transformation that was happening in front of the football world, and something that was basically total football is what it's called. It's the desire to always have the ball and play the ball as quickly as possible so that the opponent has no chance. Um, because if you have like 70 to 80% uh, uh, ball possession, there is no chance for the opponent to even have something to build up on. So, and this position play was basically established in 1990, and you you can see the impact that it had on football.
Yeah, you can see that. I'll put in just a little clips of some of the tiki taka style that was happening, and this is the game versus Real Madrid. Just so you can see how smooth the passing was, and everybody knew what they needed to do. Everybody knew where to be played, where to stand, where to know when to receive the ball, and everybody had a one touch or two touches max when they had the ball.
Yeah,
There was no overthinking anything.
exactly. Creating triangles in between the lines, in having that domination by playing the ball and having that possession. So it's especially in that era. Nowadays, a lot of teams adapted to that style of play and basically maybe park the bus and just play on the counter attack. But back then, it was a new breed of football, and a lot of teams were not prepared for it and had to suffer a lot.
Yeah, and you can see, you guys, people that are watching, you can see how just that chance that from Romario just a few seconds ago, how smooth all the passing were. I think that's what separates people that try to use this style versus the ones that actually do it effectively. It's just the movements, even without the ball. That's the most important thing when you play this fast paced tiki taka style, where as soon as you have the ball, you immediately trying to find the right pass. There was no trying to dribble. There's nothing like that. So, and that's something that sure it was done before. With, like I said, with the Dutch teams, especially Ajax and the national team, that's how they told football is what they played. But they did nobody really saw it effectively, being very effective in the European stage and the club level. So seeing it like this is just something that was revolutionary in itself, and yeah, and it's just something that became an identity, like I said earlier. So it's very cool to see that aspect of it.
Totally agree, and it's a new step for that total football philosophy. Johan Cruyff brought in a new kind of um, total football, and he evolved what was there already with Dutch teams and Ajax, but he evolved it into something much more dangerous, much more fast-paced, much more clinical, and this is basically what this Cruyff era was about. It was about infusing a new philosophy, and that philosophy can be seen until this very day, especially with Barcelona.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just I think, and with tactics like that, it helped a lot that he had some of the players that he had. Having Coman, having Stoichkov there, having Laudrup, all
Mm.
those players that we'll look at now as legends in the game in itself. Whether they're Barca players or not, they were already really, really, really good players putting them together in one team with Cruyff at the helm. It was just a recipe for success, no matter how you slice it. So that I think that helped a lot, and the dominance that Barca had particularly between 88 and 96 until he left. But it's just that era, all those players, it wasn't just one person or two people that stood out. It was a whole team, from the front lines all the way to Zubizarreta and the goalkeeping. It was just everybody had an amazing few years. Everybody was contributed equally to the success of the team.
Yep, absolutely, and it is essential to the success of the team to have world-class players. And I think when we talk about, of course, it's always easier if you basically saw the players live and had that connection. But even looking back and watching highlights and watching those games, you could see what kind of impact those players had and how effective it was having that team. Of course, Johan Cruyff knew what kind of players he wanted in his squad to have that total dominance. And that dominance was especially domestically from 1990 to 1994 was absolutely amazing to watch. And of course, having different styles, different kind of players always helps.
Yeah, and just a quote that Cruyff came through when he got hired. One of the things, the first thing he said that like quoting Johan after this, I know the club and I don't want history to repeat itself. If we want things to
Yeah.
change, we must change history. So he already came in with the revolutionary ideas and knew that in order to actually do anything about this, to change things around, to actually not try to repeat the same mistakes that we've done, we need to change our whole philosophy, our whole
Mhm.
our whole identity, basically, to become something for the history books. And I think that's coming in with the idea, with that idea. First thing that you want to do is just change everything. I think that says a lot how brave he was coming in. And just something that's applaud for any other coaches or that come through and want to create something not for themselves but for the club itself. I think that's something that's to be admired for any coach that try to do that.
Exactly. And this, if we look at the most successful eras, of course, we have that dream team, but of course that Barcelona, the Guardiola's Barcelona as well. And if you have those two and compare it to our last 10 years, you can see the exactly what Johan Cruyff meant when he said that if it's just continuation, we are going to be stuck. We need to have brave coaches. We need to have new ideas and evolutionize our play, not revolutionize it, but evolutionize it. It is a true testament to what a genius Johan Cruyff was on the sideline
Uh,
and on the pitch, of course.
100% agree. And with that said, let's listen to an interview he did a few years before he passed away, just talking about the idea of tiki taka.
Tell me about tiki taka. Where did the phrase come from, and how do you pronounce it properly?
Tiki taka, that's something like this. So he puts the ball but as quick as possible and these sort of things. But it's when we started in Barcelona to do positioning play. It's responsibility of the ball, where you play, how you play. Controlling the ball is the basis of football. In the beginning, that was something where people laughed about because they didn't understand that it was football, and until it had the results and people enjoyed it and people loved it, and now it's a fantastic word.
Yeah, so that's that tells you a little. You know, they laughed at it when at first when I tried to implement it. They laughed at it when I talked about it at first. It wasn't something that was taken serious from a lot of critics, a lot of football, a lot of people that are involved in football.
Yep. And it is football is always about the results. So you can play beautiful football, but if it's not successful, you will have a problem selling your vision and your idea. But what the late Johan Cruyff did was he established a way to play football, sensational football, but have the results. And this is the genius that he was is at display when he had his vision of total football becoming a reality in Barcelona.
Yeah, it's just fantastic that uh he was able to do that in a point where I feel like it would be too crazy for somebody to do that right now, to try to take a club and try to implement something totally different, and expect the fans, expect the uh, especially how much money now is involved in football versus how much it was back in the 90s, to be able to
Mhm.
be patient with it, give them time to actually implement the ideas. Um, so I'm grateful that it happened then, and we were able to build upon that and stay true to the vision that he had. Granted, it was, you know, it changes over the time, right? Because football, it changes. It doesn't. It's not a constant thing. It's always it's changing throughout the years. How physical the players are, how tactical the game has become. It's different from back then, but it's still, you can still feel and see the ideas that he's implemented back then still relevant to this day.
Yep, absolutely agree. The 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 thing with what was established back then is that it is a DNA for Barcelona. So no matter what kind of football we play, there is always this DNA within Barcelona that was instilled by Johan Cruyff. So we will always look back at that dream team and have a reference of what our football should look like. So of course we have to adapt to modern football, to the physicality, to the tactical prowess of a lot of Europe's top teams. But nonetheless, we will always have that DNA.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing I want to say to just to touch upon was the 1990-1991 league title that Barca won that year. That one, there's another one, but that one was pretty because that's the thing, because it wasn't just like everybody was shit and we steamrolled everybody. That wasn't the case. Like Atletico and Real Madrid were freaking really good those times, and with Deportivo being another team that had really great season and one of the years. So it wasn't just us basically above everybody else, and the other teams were not good. They were really good. The other Madrid and Atletico were really good in those couple of years.
And after that, basically, we broke the dominance of a lot of teams back then. A lot
Yeah,
of great teams, like you said, Deportivo La Coruña were a fairly big name back then, and then Real Madrid and Atletico. But then we had that dominance in 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994. So it was basically the 90s, especially the early 90s, was um, was a total dominance by Barcelona, especially domestically. We won the Copa del Rey in the 1990 and then we had the league title four times in a row. So you could see that whatever Johan Cruyff was trying to do was fruitful. So we had that, and we had, of course, the the new way of football, the Johan Cruyff way of football, and it was totally changing the world of football.
Yeah, that's just that's just it. And with the talking about the Deportivo La Coruña, the 1994 league title that we won, we tied on points for that one. We won because of the goal difference, which is even. I wish I was conscious enough back then or watching because I'm sure it was such a exciting race throughout the whole thing. In 1994 was the year that we hammered Madrid 5-0 too. And that's if you guys are watching, that's the highlights that's playing is the 1994 Clásico, where we Barca beat Madrid 5-0 there. And it's one of the famous Clásicos that we played really, really well throughout the whole game. So and I think after that season was pretty much starting to the decline of the team as a whole. But like those few years that we were on top were just incredible to witness. Granted, like me and you weren't watching it, but like just to look at it through the history and see all the highlights, see all the and I'm sure if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of games from that era. That's all of it. You can go and watch whatever you want as far as that goes. I'm sure that you'll find plenty of games that you can watch. You can see what's crazy too when you watch it. It's like you're watching even the new the Pep Barcelona, which was the same style where the movement of the players is really, really similar to how Messi and Xavi and Iniesta, all the movements of the ball, movements how of the players off the ball were pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So we had like of course every time when an era like that happens, the decline is fairly sharp because you are going from being basically the top of the world and number one, and then even if it's just a season or two, you will have you will need some change. So and after that very successful era we had a few years that were basically mediocre, and then we had that era with
Van Gaal.
Van Gaal and then Rijkaard and then Guardiola came in. It always takes time. So hopefully this portion of Barca history is inspiration to those that are at helm right now to reestablish the DNA of Barcelona and what it's all about, of course, in being successful.
Yeah, even back then, winning 11 trophies in between 88 and 96. That's a short amount of time in that era to be able to win that amount of trophies. I mean, when Pep took over, I think I think I'm pretty sure I don't know the stats exactly, but it was more than that, trophy wise. But for his realm when Guardiola was the coach, but back then it was just something incredible, and the team has never experienced that before, which is why it's still talked about to this day. It was something that's revolutionized our winning streak and how much we dominated, not just domestically but in Europe, because we dominated domestically for years too, throughout the history. We won leagues back to back for a few years throughout the history, but to be able to say that in a European stage and how amazing we were, in the European stage was not something that we saw a lot. So I think that was the something that established us as a powerhouse after that in the European stage.
Absolutely. And I think it's fair to say that this was the spark that made Barcelona become a European powerhouse, especially in the 2000s. Before that, like you said, we've won some league titles, and of course, having the biggest stadium in Europe and that identity, that history is always going to be something special playing against Barcelona. But at the end of the day, the Johan Cruyff era was basically what sparked that winning mentality on the European stage.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, as far as the man, and if you guys are people that are watching with us on the YouTube on Patreon now, you can see this is the highlight for the win that against Sampdoria when we won the first Champions League, and just looking at it, you can see how different football was back then, but at the same time, he's Coman. It's just Coman and his famous free kick. You see that. I'm sure if you're a Barca fan, you've seen that clip and that highlight multiple times. But it gives you little goosebumps every time you watch it or hear people talk about it, or it's just something that ingrained in our history as a start of something amazing. So that's something that paved the way for us. But I still think that every coach that's gonna come through is gonna be compared to that era, or see if not compared necessarily, but especially if it's a big coach, of course, that has similar ideas. The expectation will be to do something similar to what Johan did back then. You can see that with everybody that comes through.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this: do you see some parallels between the teams that won the Champions League or the European Cup as it was called back then? Do you see some parallels? Do you see some parallels between the type of players, the type of coaches we had, or do you think it's more of a team effort than just individuals being at their best? I mean, if we talk about Koeman, we talk about Romario, who was absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't give him the credit that he deserves. I think he's way more known for his accomplishments in the national team than he was when he was playing.
I think he only played 2 seasons. So I think maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, that's true, but in that short amount of time, the stuff that he made was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. So you're asking whether it's some more of individuals or
yeah. Do you see some similarities when we talk about the years where Barcelona won the European Cup or the Champions League?
Some between then and now? Is that what you're comparing?
Well, the last Champions League was 2015.
Like our last win versus the last comparison to the win in '92. Is that what you?
Not in general. I'm talking about in general, like the 4 titles, the titles that we had until then. Yeah. Is it like do you see some similarities between these teams?
Yeah, absolutely.
Each team.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not the 2015 one.
Okay.
Because I think the 2015 one, we relied heavily on the front three. pretty much our whole creative side going forward,
Was
what came from
Suarez,
Neymar.
Messi,
Yeah, Neymar, Suarez,
Neymar.
and Messi. I mean, Xavi was coming in from the bench at that point. He wasn't as instrumental as the years prior. But as far as powerhouse and relying on who's going to carry us for wins and goals was the top three. Top three. So Neymar, Suarez, and Messi. But if you look at the other times when we won in 2011 and 2009, 2006, it was more of the whole team working equally to try to get something going. Granted, we had Messi in our team, so and four of those, so that doesn't and four of those, yeah. I mean the 2006 he was injured a lot of it, but so we had the best player in the world playing with us, but at the same time, if you watch the games, everybody had a big influence on the games, especially the midfield, with having Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets, and that trio did some fucking amazing things. So it wasn't just the number 9 or the top 3 are the ones that are carrying us. It was more of a team effort, really, to try to get to the top. Which is similar to 92 and how Johan Cruyff had the team set up where everybody had an involvement, everybody was important in the team, and it's something that we lost. That's why we dipped heavily after 2015, because we relied heavily on the top 3, right? And once Neymar left, it was the top 2. Messi, Suarez granted got a little slower, so it was more of Messi carrying really the team and try to assist Suarez as much as he can. Once Suarez left, we're just Messi. So we never switched back to the whole team because we didn't have quality players anymore in those positions that we needed. And Iniesta got older, he left. And then we had nobody there in the midfield that we can really say is somebody who we can rely on in the midfield, beside Busquets. But even Busquets had help with Xavi and Iniesta, so we didn't have that same system that we had through the previous years, which is why we suffered a lot. And thankfully, that's changing since Xavi took over as a coach, where we see everybody's involvement is important. Everybody equally is important in the starting 11. So it's something that we lost it, but we gained it back. But if you look at the other years, bar 2015, it's really similar to how Johan Cruyff set us up. What do you think?
I agree, and I think there's a lot of things that need to happen for it to become a team effort, like it once was. But I think with Barcelona, it always needs the star player needs to be the team. It's not about individuals. Of course, we had an era where Messi, the greatest of all time, basically carried this team through some really tough times. But you could see the repercussions, especially on the European stage, where we had some really heavy losses. But it's I think it's time for someone like Xavi to renew and reinstill that Barcelona type of play and have the team being the star once again.
Yeah, and that's I know you just said it's changing. It's a slowly changing, and it's not something that happens overnight. But it's slowly changing in the right direction. So there's just something that needed to change, needed to go back, and Xavi knows better than a lot of people in the club right now how that was, because he was part of an era that was similar to how Cruyff had us set up. So he knows how to do that again. And what's fascinating is when he got hired, Xavi, when he came back, he said you can find quotes of him talking about it, that everything changed of how he how he was when he was here as a player. The training changed, the how the facilities, not the facilities, but how the schedule for the players when they get there, what they're supposed to do, everything changed from what he used to, and that's something that unacceptable, and you can see why. You can see why that is, and how affected the team in a negative way. And him coming out and say that first week or two after coming in says a lot. And I think a lot of us as fans, as Kool-Aid, like we're like, yep, right. Like everyone's like, yeah, we see what we see what he's talking about. We see that on the field. We see how the intensity is gone in a lot of the players. We don't press as well, and we get tired within the first half an hour or first 60 minutes. So it is changing in the right direction. So hopefully it keeps going to that, in that direction of how we were set up back then and how it's supposed to be, to stay true to the vision that Cruyff implemented.
Yeah, and Xavi is a big fan of our DNA. So basically, when he watches those games a lot, and he knows about. I mean, it's basically an era where he grew up with the Barcelona type of play, and I'm pretty sure that in the summer he will have his own ideas and maybe the players that he needs. So it's going to be very interesting to see what type of play he's trying to come in with the next season in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing that I'm interested and excited to see what he does. As far as bringing players in, and I'm sure he's going to be heavily involved in that. So it'd be interesting to see what he does in the transfer window. And now that we have Alemani in there, the fucking magician, of trying to find the right contract and knows exactly how to bring people in. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's be cautiously positive. I think Xavi will have an impact one way or another.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so that's a great discussion that we've been having here. So if you guys, what we're gonna try to do is we'll put this up on Patreon. We create a Patreon just to have a hub for people that want to follow us, and you can you guys can ask questions there, requests, topics, and things like that. So find us on Patreon there, Forza Barca Podcast. We're also, if you are on Spotify, you'll be able to subscribe to our channel there, and then through audio, and you'll be able to get all the exclusive bonus podcasts that we'll be doing. We're gonna put this for free on YouTube, just that way people can see the content that we'll be putting up there. And then the following episodes will be locked in and exclusive to the subscribers, so that way we'll have a hub for people to check out. Do you have anything else you want to add to this discussion?
No, I'm glad we can rejuvenate some of our history and talk about our history, and maybe some subjects that our listeners and subscribers want us to talk about, and maybe even have some guests.
Yeah.
The coming few episodes. So there's a lot of things that we are trying to do, and like we've said, it's only going to get better and better, and hopefully you can have some positive impact on on this very podcast. We are doing this for you, and we have much fun doing it, and we hope you have much fun listening to it and watching it.
That's 100% what it is, and so we will end this by saying thank you so much for listening and watching. If you're on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and let us know what you some suggestions as far as topics. If you're on Patreon, do the same. We're listening. We're gonna interact with everybody, and it's just as for fun for us. It's not really anything to be obsessive about or anything like that from our end. We just want to do something fun for interact with people that are Barca fans and create this friendly environment for everybody to be able to communicate and have fun and get some content and listen if you're driving or working or whatever you're doing. So thank you so much, and we will see you again on the next episode. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Yep. Bye.